You ever think that you're kind of good at something and then you say you think you're good at basketball and then you play with some people and you realize, oh, I'm not very good? Well, that's what happened to Big Jook. Apparently he thought he was some sort of street guy just because he broke the law before, went to prison for selling drugs. Well, that just makes you, as Courtney Brown Sr. refers to you, as a ham thief. You're just in the way. Very few are competent enough criminals to be called gangsters. Big Jook, definitely not one. Govan and Hernandez barely even counts. And Cornelius and Straight Drop, I mean, they're less than pawns. So, unlike the YSL trial, the state of Memphis, Shelby County, seems to have a pretty clear case, easy to follow, and it's not, well, there's not a million witnesses. So here's what's going on with the first 3 days of trial. I'll sum it all up, and it's not that hard. So Cornelius and Straight Drop were the shooters. Cornelius was the one with the Draco, and I think he fired the fatal shots. So he claims that he lived in the neighborhood of Govan Hernandez. He would frequent Govan Hernandez's trap for perks and ease. And Govan and Straight Drop, who was he's not an aspiring rapper, he's a rapper, approached him to come in on this deal. They said Jook was going to pay $100K and that Drop would get 40, Cornelius would get 40, Govan would keep 20. Well, apparently Govan and Drop then made a separate plan to throw Cornelius under the bus so they wouldn't have to pay him. Now, perhaps at first they were planning to lure him somewhere and take him out. I don't know, but basically they deprived him of resources and help, and he got caught. His own half-brother testified against him. Well, Straight Drop's half-brother, so let me get to that. So let me finish with Cornelius, or with the whole thing that went on. So Govan, Hernandez Govan, and Justin Johnson, aka Straight Drop, conspired within the conspiracy to not pay Cornelius. Cornelius, I mean, not to be funny, I mean, you can kind of tell, they don't show his face, they show his legs and feet. I mean, he has on a poorly fitting, unironed pair of dress pants and some not the greatest dress shoes. I mean, usually even poor people's family will round up a decent suit for him for court, but some people are poorer than others. So he only got $800. He had to call. He left town. He had to call, and he told Straight Drop, it's my daughter's birthday, and they all got little kids, of course. It's his daughter's birthday. So, Straight, can you get some money from Unc, which was Govan, who was getting the money from Jook. So allegedly. Well, we don't know. I don't think there's proof of that yet. So $500 was brought to him, and then $300 brought to him. That's all they ever got, because they never wanted to pay him. Straight Drop probably wanted to get, 70 grand and let Govan keep 30 or whatever it was. And Straight Drop was also going to be rewarded by being signed to CMG. And it's interesting, the prosecutor keeps trying to get to, so basically, well, Big Jook paid you, so basically you were paid by CMG. They keep saying CMG. That doesn't mean, remember, if they had the evidence to charge Gotti, he'd be charged. So if Big Jook truly was the only person, I'm not even saying Gotti did have something to do with it. If Big Jook was the only person that knew he was, Gotti's never going to get, he's not going to get RICO'd because they have to have some piece of evidence. Now, Cornelius claims he was with Straight Drop when Straight Drop FaceTimed Big Jook right after they did it. Said it's done. So, there's the connection to Big Jook. Let me look at my notes here. Oh, talk about incompetence. So remember when the case, the first big break in the case was finding the vehicle, the white Mercedes that appeared in a music video, and then also in the homicide. They found it in a field and towed it away. And internet sleuths then said, oh, this same car was in a music video. Guess where it was towed away from? It was towed away from a lot across the street from Hernandez Govan's house. So they didn't even, they just put the car across the street and they wiped it of prints, I guess, or whatever. But now that car came from another tragedy, a guy named Treon Ingram, who's linked to Straight Drop through some street ties, did a CAR jacking, which resulted in the DEATH of one or two middle-aged or older women, black women, in not too far away from Memphis. So, another tragedy. Those people weren't even... Dolph was a tragedy, but he was beefing and he was doing street stuff too. But these women lost their lives just for this car that Hernandez Govan, the mastermind, the overseer of the operation, dumped across the street from his personal address. Straight Drop's brother testified, which is very interesting. So they first established that, see, I always tell people this, if you're not raised in the same household, all that relative stuff may not count. You got to be careful. You're raised in the same household, whether you're cousins or even not related, well, maybe you could trust that person, or you grew up next door, like you lived the same life, but really the same household. But Straight Drop and his brother grew up in different households. He said we're more like cousins. And he was down in Texas. He was working at a warehouse job to support his 4-year-old when Straight Drop shows up, trying to get him a rental car in his name, giving him Straight Drop gave his brother his phone to post social media content from, I think maybe to figuring they were tracking the phone, and then if he left it with his brother, it would seem like he was in a different state than he was. Not quite sure. So his brother cut a deal for accessory after the fact, so he'll get probation. But his brother didn't run the streets of Memphis with him, and sounds like they had a limited relationship, which a lot of siblings, listen, different friends of mine, pop up. Oh, I just found out I had a half brother. These are 35-year-old men just found out they have a half brother somewhere in Detroit, and then a month later the half brother gets murdered. And what do you expect their emotional affect to be? They don't know this person. I had a family member come into my life and cause me problems because I realized, I don't know you. Why am I trusting you as if I know what you will do? I don't. So he had to beg for $500 and $300 for his daughter's birthday. Oh, Hernandez Govan is going to testify against Straight Drop as well. So Hernandez Govan and Straight Drop tried to cut Cornelius out, who was described basically as a neighborhood young junkie that was coming over, always on pills and high, that they could get to be the trigger man and then not pay. Wow. And now Hernandez Govan, who was so lazy they dumped a murder vehicle across from his own house, he's going to testify that Straight Drop cut that deal with Jook himself. I didn't listen to the testimony enough, or I couldn't tell. and you can put in the comments of this, did Cornelius say that Hernandez brought him in, or that Straight Drop met him at Hernandez's trap and brought him in? I'm not sure, but Cornelius is telling the truth and he's lying. He's trying to keep some people out of it. He claims that in the county jail, because you can talk through the air vents in Shelby County, Memphis is about the size of Detroit, but Shelby County, which Memphis is in, is pretty much Memphis and a couple suburbs. It's not a metro. Memphis is not like Atlanta's 6 million people, Detroit's 4.5 million people, Memphis is like 1.6 million people, but the city of Memphis is almost 700,000, so it's half of the area. But so the Shelby County Township Jail is big, but it's not massive, and they're in high security, so they're able to talk through vents. Straight Drop, Cornelius claims, told them, cut me loose, like don't put me in it, because I don't know if Straight Drop's weapon helped unalive Dolph. He fired. Again, maybe someone who watched every minute of the testimony can put this in the comments. Please do. Yeah, so Hernandez Govan is going to testify that Straight Drop and Cornelius hooked us up with Jook on their own, and he kind of was hearing sort of about it. There was a hit out, but he didn't want no parts and wash his hands. But how did the car end up across the street from you? This is why Govan has been on bond, as everyone thought he cut a deal to testify against the shooters, but I don't think he's gonna. I mean, he can't say he was the mastermind, because that's first-degree murder. I mean, well, he could if they gave him immunity. I don't know what amount of time Cornelius Smith's gonna get. I tell you, you get very early parole apparently in Tennessee, because if you remember from my Big Jook story, I'll put a little bit of that into this, and then you can go back and revisit that, because that I really go into detail. And the real interesting question of all this is who killed Big Jook, of course, because Straight Drop shot 3 people at a bowling alley. It only did, like, I don't know, 2 years or something. I mean, Tennessee has crazy parole. So if Cornelius Smith, that's 20 years or something, I mean, he's already been in a year or something. Cornelius Smith, if he gets 20 years in exchange for his testimony, he might be out in 7 years. He still have a life. So, I mean, if you were supposed to get 40 grand and got paid 800, and they, because they planned to cut you out of it. This is why all that code of the street stuff goes out the window. Code of the street is a contract. You got to do it. What you do for me, I do for you. Well, if I go to jail and you don't answer my collect calls, and then we did the job and you purposely stiffed me. So that's what Cornelius Smith is thinking. Straight Drop's brother, it's taking the accessory after the fact deal. I don't know if he hurts him that much. The question, I mean, this could come out kind of if Cornelius is admitting he did it, he's going to get 20 years, I think, which, like I said, I think in Tennessee that might mean he could be out in 5 or 7 years. If all they really have against, or the main thing they have against Drop, especially if his weapon isn't the one that, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but his weapon didn't do that, is Cornelius and maybe Hernandez Govan. Maybe a jury doesn't see. First-degree murder is the hardest conviction to get, right? Like, someone gets beat up in a bar fight, people identify, oh, it was him, and you're going to go to prison for 3 years. Well, okay, even if we made a mistake. The guy did something, he was at a bar fight, if, whatever, if we make a mistake as a jury, he does 3 years, whatever. But this isn't capital murder, I don't think, but if you're going to send somebody to prison for life or potentially the death penalty, that reasonable doubt might become in some jurors' mind beyond a shadow of a doubt. What if Cornelius gets this deal? Hernandez Govan must have a deal working. And what if the jury just don't like Cornelius and Hernandez Govan's testimony, or don't like them as people, which I'm sure they're going to be unlikable. Cornelius isn't really unlikable, but he sounds retarded, and then when you realize what he did, he's unlikable. Hernandez Govan already doesn't seem likable. Juries sometimes don't like witnesses and say, well, we're not going to send straight drop to prison for life based on these two guys. And Govan has a deal. What if that? What if Govan does a few years, straight drop does 7, or Cornelius does 7, and straight drop beats it? Wow, no justice for Dolph. Well, street justice has been going on, according to the internet rumors. I don't know nothing about all that. So yeah. Cornelius testified that straight drop called FaceTime Big Jook, so he saw Big Jook's face. Let me tell you something. In my travels across the urban landscape, both as just me, being from Detroit and whatever, but especially as my Al Prophet travels, trust me when I tell you, there are people who, as one of their income streams, as you like to call it, do murder for hire for decades and don't get caught. Because if you kill a stranger and you do it right, there's really, unless you have bad luck or something, you should get away with it. That's why when hitmen, like real hitmen, like, oh, he killed 30 people, 19 people, not hard to kill a stranger and get away. If you're psychologically able to kill a stranger for money, it's not that hard to get away with it. Believe me, there's lots of people that kill and get away with it. If Big Jook really knew how to navigate the streets, if he knew anybody, he could have got professional killers from another city. You're Big Jook, you're supposed to have killers in LA and Detroit and Chicago. Come down, 100,000 to get the job done. If 2 guys come down from Chicago or Detroit or LA, bang them up, go back home. These guys don't talk about anything to anybody. Believe me, these people exist. There's not tons of them, but if I know some, well, rumor and innuendo say I know some, in various cities. How did Big Jook not know any? He had to get Hernandez Govan, whose daughter was murked in Houston, if you remember, not long after Dolph, though from what I hear from my Houston sources, that she was hot and heavy in the street, robbing, scamming, lining people up, so that people were after her just for what she was doing. So, family of thieves. That's why Hernandez Govan did not want to pay. So I always interested in me and Courtney Brown Jr. always talk about stuff. I always have to remind him, you guys were professional drug dealers. You were in it for the money. Other than if you think dealing drugs is bad, you're nice, family-oriented people. I don't know what you may or may not have done at different times, but, and I'm not saying drug dealing is okay, but I am saying other than that, if you didn't know they used to do that, nice people, family-oriented. They're not into anything but making money and being with their family and friends. But most criminals or people who do crime are, they got problems. If you're machine gunning people in a parking lot or you're down to do that, you're wild. Let's see here. But yeah, the fact that Jook had to get Govan Hernandez is totally ridiculous. Put the car across the street from his own house. So, okay, that's a good summary. So please answer in the comments, though, whether Drop's gun, if the handgun, because he didn't even have he had a handgun. So was there a caliber bullet from that in Dolph? Now, is there gonna, I don't think there's much more of a witness list. Is there gonna be a surprise witness to link Hernandez Govan? Oh, is Straight Drop gonna testify that he saw Jook give Hernandez Govan money? That would lock Hernandez into the conspiracy, and Hernandez sound like he's gonna testify against Straight Drop. So they're all gonna go against each other. But bringing Jook into it obviously is meaningless because he's dead, other than the fact that it could prove Hernandez Govan was part of the conspiracy. But two people accused of murder, each getting on a stand saying, no, I didn't know nothing about it, he did it on his own, and the other one saying, yes, you did. A jury could just... And then Cornelius Smith definitely ran up on Dolph with a Draco and tightened him up for $800. So he's somebody that a jury could easily, and he has told some inconsistencies and lies that they caught him in. Jury could easily, swap murder cases are what people beat murder cases. People don't beat burglary at trial. They don't beat armed robbery. They beat murder cases because a jury or a judge really, if I got a bunch of liars on stand, no good conflicting physical evidence, and we got one guy who admitted he did it, who got a deal, well, I could see that happening. But I could also see, straight. But Hernandez must have a deal because he's been on bond this whole time, so he probably already got a sweet deal. The question is Straight Drop. Did he take a L in not playing get down first against the guy, Cornelius, who he got down on in the first place? That's why he shouldn't be involved in this type of stuff. Just a classic example. Leave the streets alone. What a bad plan. Now, as far as the other question of CMG, Gotti has got to be like, wow, this all fell apart before it even got started. The only artist that's popping is Glorilla. She's popular, but I mean, she's not like she's not Cardi B. Moneybag Yo is big, but Moneybag Yo is partially Zach Randolph's artist, so that's not even his whole artist. PRE, they don't have anyone that but they're set up smaller. They're set up to make money, as a smaller independent label. So they're doing their thing. CMG tried to boss up and be the Rock Nation of the South. This is not good. But it's certainly possible. Well, CMG had been trying to kill Dolph. Remember, they shot him in L.A. And that promo tour manager that worked directly for Gotti, and I guess now has a regular job, shot him on Hollywood Boulevard, but Dolph wouldn't tell the police it was him, so they dropped the charges. And then in Charlotte, another CMG employee and one of the times they tried to shoot him in Charlotte, the charges were dropped against Black Youngster, but in the other time, at the same event, they put a CMG guy in prison. He's probably getting out about now, or will be soon, for like 8 or 9 years. So there's documented the CMG employees trying to murk Dolph in real life. Was it directed by Gotti, though? Not necessarily. If he's the head honcho and he has to be protected at all costs. It's just like in the street. The spot, you know, the enforcer does not have to be told that, you know, if somebody did something to him, theoretically, he wouldn't have had to call some. They just know what, people know what to do. Beyond Street Dreams coming soon. New documentary. Sort of like a Motown Mafia 2, but not. Get ready for that. Go join my Patreon. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to give you a little taste of the Big Jook thing I did a while back, because who the hell killed Big Jook? What if Yo Gotti knew and had his own brother taken out? There's a non-zero chance that happened. I have no evidence, and I'm not saying it did, but plot to kill Dolph, man. What a way to go by a bunch of small-time, incompetent dummies. R.I.P. Flipper. I actually like to. Yeah. Like, share, and subscribe. Watch this clip of Big Jook. Patreon.com/outprofit. Moving a lot of my content over there for the coming year. American Dope.
I don't like to talk, I don't need your pity. Man, I'm a dog, got the keys to the city. Get my lead better fit it. I just hit the boy, let the bin hit.
You really think Young Dolph got shot at 100 times in Charlotte and got shot in Hollywood by CMG and him and his people never retaliated? It sure seems like the city of Memphis is overwhelmingly on Flipper's side. Me too, I always liked Young Dolph, but I wonder if that's only because nobody knew about things going on behind the scenes, or that we didn't hear about it being done to CMG, because why were they so out to get him? I don't know. Not that I know anything, I'm just saying, just a guess, perhaps. In this analysis, I'm going to use a few very key pieces of evidence and information that I found from 3 Memphis YouTubers: The Cussing Pastor, Real Talk with Tamara, and True Results. All 3 of their vlogs are linked in the description. Now, here are some of the key facts to establish the situation beyond rehashing the hit on Dolph itself. Fact number 1. Keon Wright, a vice president and road manager for CMG, appears from his prison records to have just completed, like a few weeks ago, serving 7 years on a 10 to 15 year plea for shooting up Young Dolph's truck in Charlotte back in 2016. Remember the 100 shots that bounced off Dolph's bulletproof truck that Black Youngster was originally charged with doing? Well, if you thought that all just went away and was an unsolved mystery, let me refresh your memory. There was a van rented by a Mr. Sammy Benson, a.k.a. Black Youngster, and that was used in the attempted homicide. It was full of shell casings, maybe DNA evidence, at a black college performance thing in Charlotte. And Youngster was initially charged, but then he said the van had been stolen, and Keon Wright took the fall. So you mean that the vice president of the same company that Black Youngster worked for happened to be the one who stole the van that he rented, and then he happened to use it to shoot up Young Dolph's truck, and there's no conspiracy? That goes to show the power of serious money when you have top lawyers and a guy like Keon Wright willing to take a 10 to 15 year cop, so Black Youngster, the artist, stays out of trouble.
What it do? Sport Vato, the OG, King the Loud with Rico Television, representing that motherfucking Kush County down here in Orlando, you know what I'm talking about? CMG till I die, cocaine, music, and you know what I'm talking about? Or you can say cars, money, gun. We're gonna kick this shit out tonight, you know what I'm saying? That club Roxy, Yo Gotti. My niggas gonna tell the motherfucking stage that we paint the city white. Goddamn it, if you on that white, take
Fact number 2. Now, that was a guy named Vato, a.k.a. Corey McClinton, yet another CMG road manager. He was the guy charged with actually Young Dolph at the intersection of Hollywood and Highland, a gigantic tourist intersection in L.A., back in September of 2017, around the Shoe Palace or the Lowe's Hotel. And this was just 6 months after the attempt on Dolph's life in Charlotte. Again, a CMG road manager slash vice president is charged with trying to murk Dolph. But this time, Dolph didn't make an identification. Well, he didn't in Charlotte either, but they didn't need one. And even though Dolph went in critical condition, charges were dropped after 48 hours on Avato.
The LAPD now wants to talk with rapper Yo Gotti following a shooting in front of Lowe's Hotel in Hollywood.
Mr. McClinton was held by LAPD for 48 hours and released without charges, presumably because Dolph would not identify him and there weren't any other good witnesses or precise enough camera footage. But 3 guys associated with Yo Gotti visually threw Dolph on the ground in a parking lot, put slugs in his body. They all got cuffed up on the scene. So it's an absolute fact that one person that's a part of CMG management pled guilty to an attempt on Dolph's life, and only the fact that Dolph refused to identify another CMG vice president road manager saved him from getting charged for the shooting in L.A. Now, speaking of Mr. McClinton, a.k.a. Vato, the Memphis vlogger True Results has our first piece of strange physical evidence. I'll leave you to be the judge. Okay, this is a photo that True Results created, obviously, side by side. So on the right, you have the guy charged for 48 hours in L.A. with shooting Young Dolph, Vato, and standing on a stage behind him is his buddy he's RIPing. I guess he just passed away. And on the left is the close-up of someone with a COVID mask pulled down so you can see their face. Now, if you look, you'll notice how the left side of both of their mouths is crooked with like a missing tooth. Maybe like they got shot in the mouth or something back in the day. Are these guys the same person? Sure might be. The guy on the left with the COVID mask pulled down was milling around the crime scene at Dolph's homicide wearing a security outfit on. He was supposedly the security guard from the Family Dollar next to Makita's Cookies, which according to the same blogger, True Results, immediately closed. The Family Dollar closed, just like Makita's did. I don't know, is that true? If you're in Memphis, you can say if it's true or not. But this guy, who sure looks like the guy on stage with Vato, was milling around the Family Dollar acting like he was a security guard there. And I guess he looked through the footage enough to see him pulling down his mask for a second. And that's a weird facial feature to have. This True Results guy seemed like his whole blog is focused on justice for Dolph. I don't know if it's related to him or connected to him somehow. He actually claims his brother's house was recently shot at in Memphis because of his blog. I don't know if this is true, if he's hyping things up to get views. Doesn't seem like it. Now, Mr. Crooked Mouth is apparently dead, as Vato was giving him an RIP shout out. Like I said, I guess True Results, the vlogger, keeps an eye on Vato's page, and it went through his IG post, and he happened to see it, and he screenshotted him, saying RIP to this guy who looks like he was posing as a security guard at the site of Makita's and was also on stage with Vato. Pretty strange. I'll let you be the judge, but I thought he looked enough like him that it bears mentioning. Fact number 3, there's another small YouTube channel run by that woman, Real Talk with Tamara. She apparently was a civilian employee for the Memphis PD and still, of course, has friends at Memphis police, talks to them. She tries to get insider info from them. I mean, they don't spell things out, and she doesn't either, but she said right after the Juk hit that her police friend would just say one thing, that the hit on Jook was a message. Well, that means wasn't the point in and of itself. It was a message to someone else. Who would that message be to? Hold that thought. I was watching an interview with the Memphis blogger, Mr. Stan. What's his name? Old Main is Stan. And he was interviewing a guy named Mr. Ian, I guess, who had a popularity run some years back. And then he started ghostwriting for Young DOLPH. And he confirms the old rumor that he saw Big Jook take bowls, aka pounds of the reefers, from Dolph when Jook and Gotti were on the outs. Does that mean anything? Maybe.
If a nigga told you, hey man, look bro, man, Jook put a $40,000 hit on you, bro. Like, nigga, man, come on, bro, I'm standing on that. I ain't.
Fact number 4, Memphis comedian Grove Hero, who Dolph helped elevate into having a pretty big career, went on his IG Live, 6-8 months ago, and said that Big Jook, maybe more like 9 months ago, Big Jook put a $40,000 hit out. I think he meant on himself, Grove Hero, because he was talking so much about justice for Dolph and etc. Now, Grove Hero is someone from the same inner city area as Dolph and Youngster and all the rest of them, and he's still around, and I'd be willing to give you pretty good odds if he heard that on the street it was true. When you put a hit out, the word floats around to the, in that community, and if you're in that community and people like you, someone's going to call you up and tell you. I once had a friend of mine had a guy go try to put a hit out on him, and the hitter said, "You mean you want us to hit such and such from such and such street?" They knew him. They called my boy up and asked him what they wanted him to do. Of course, nothing happened. Moving on to fact number 5.